I think there's one match left going down on the other strip. Unfortunately, it's a little far away. I can't quite determine who the fencers are, but the winner of that match will also be advancing to the round of 8. You see a double touch being scored there. And I'm not quite sure what the score is down there, John, but the winner of that match will be advancing to the round of 8.
Rakesh Patel, if we can get a shot of that, Pete, down there is being attended to by some other folks. I don't know if they're with the Notre Dame squad. Seems as though he injured his right hand. Or what are some of the common injuries? We saw a fencer with an ankle injury yesterday, and now it seems that there's some sort of hand injury, his thumb or something they're looking at.
Yeah, I would like to say that while this may look very dangerous, and once again this is reenacting a duel, and a duel was about life and death, this sport is very, very safe. We wear a mask, as you see that these fencers have over their face, which is very strong and provides protection for our eyes as well as our neck and our head. The jackets are made of either ballistic nylon. Believe it or not, folks, those jackets are bulletproof. John, I'm not willing to check to see if mine is...
Well, I thought we were going to do a demonstration.
Well, maybe not with me in it, at least. If we do one, it's not going to be with me in it. But the equipment is very safe. The type of injuries that frequently you will see, however, will be twisted ankles, John, and sprained hands.
Hurt egos.
A lot of hurt egos. We get a lot of those. But by and large, this is as safe as a sport as any.
Now, Peter mentioned earlier, Terrence, to practice. He was saying something like hanging a golf ball from a string to practice on. There are different tactics you can do as a fencer. You don't necessarily need an opponent, almost like a tennis player whacking a tennis ball against a wall.
There are a lot of things that these fencers do to practice. They take lessons from their coaches. A lesson involves the coach giving a set of situations, some technical exercises that the fencer must perform with their blade and their body. It's coordinating and learning the technique that goes into fencing. The fencers also spend some time working on how they move, John. This footwork, this way that they move up and down the strip. If a few minutes ago some of our viewers had the opportunity to try the on-guard position, you will have realized that it's really an awkward way to stand. It's certainly an awkward way to use your legs. Those of you out there who have done karate or taekwondo or any other martial art know that it takes a long time to learn how to use your body and to feel comfortable kicking or standing in some of the odd stances that they use. So another way that these fencers practice is their footwork. Thirdly, you see some fencers take a golf ball or a dummy, meaning something that's stuffed with straw or something, and they'll practice hitting.
You looked at me when you said that. That hurt.
Oh, I'm sorry, John. I'm sorry. I should have been looking at myself. But they'll practice hitting an inanimate object. So, John, that just counts you. John is certainly not an inanimate object. In fact, we hope we're very animated for your behalf. But that will be another way in which the fencers will practice.
So now I'm a fencer. If I'm a fencer and I'm coming into a match knowing, say, I'm taking on Penn State, we mentioned this earlier, there's really no way to handicap a match to say, how am I going to fight this guy? How am I going to fight this guy? Although what you do think, just like a batter thinks the way he faced a pitcher, like Ted Williams, for instance, knew what the pitcher threw to him every single pitch. And so when he came up to the plate, every time he'd come up to the plate against a particular pitcher, he'd get better and better because he'd know his repertoire. As a fencer, if you fenced, we see these guys, for instance, in the team competition, you can fence somebody up to 3 times in one match. So after a while, you get to know their routine, you get to know their strengths and their weaknesses and how to counterattack.
John's a natural tactician, folks. He's got this one peg. What it amounts to is you fence often the same competitor many, many times in a given season. As a result, you begin to learn, how does this fencer respond? How does this fencer react when I do X, when I do Y? You begin to build up a library, and you begin to know what things that they like to do. So you go into a match knowing those things and trying to adjust your game according to the things that you know about a fencer. So having a history with a fencer, knowing a little bit about them, just like any other sport, makes a big difference in how you approach them.
So you get a scouting report if you haven't fought somebody before and you know somebody that has. It is such a fraternity, such that fencers will share the information because you know that they're sharing information on you as well.
That's right. We spy on each other, John, and some fencers go as far as to keep libraries of videotapes on other fencers that they'll then watch with their teammates. I myself keep a journal or a log on the fencers that I've fenced. so that I can remind myself of particular moves, particular things that they like to do, so that I feel prepared when I go into a match with them.
If you look at ambassadors to sports, you have Wayne Gretzky of the National Hockey League, the single greatest hockey player in the history. You have, I mentioned Ted Williams. There was a Georgia Peach, Ty Cobb, the Bambino Babe Ruth. You had Jim Brown in football and your Fran Tarkingtons. If you were to say, you know, I said to you, Terrence, who is the single greatest fencer in the history of the sport? Or somebody that you consider to be an ambassador, somebody that you consider to be, say, and I hate to use it, the pinnacle or the point of fencing. Who would that be, or are there just so many innumerable fencers that you really couldn't quantify them?
That's a tough question, and I certainly wouldn't want to get myself in trouble by pegging any single fencer. But I will say that in history, Aldonadi, back in the beginning of this century, Joliet from France, there have been a long lineage of fencers who have done a remarkable job, and many of us look up to as models for the modern game.
Now, it's needless to say, one shouldn't fence during a lightning storm. It's like golfing and standing near a lake. But yeah, so those individuals were what you consider to be Herculean competitors in the sport of fencing. What would you say that fencing is lacking? Obviously, it's sponsorship. As we can see, it's a disappointing turnout for these fencing championships, and it's not due to the advertising. There were some good layouts in the Boston Globe here. It's just that people seem to be somewhat apathetic or lethargic when it comes to these artistic sports, whether it be fencing or whether it be rugby, which I've covered, or maybe even an equestrian event. This is a more of a sport/art, is it not?
It is a sport art, but I think it takes a long time to appreciate fencing. It's not a sport that one can easily watch and figure out what's going on. As I'm sure that you've been watching these funny guys in white suits. You can't see their faces. You're not quite sure what they're doing. You're not even quite sure who's winning.
Yeah, I thought they were beekeepers when I first came in.
Yeah, they certainly do look like beekeepers. So I think part of the problem is it's difficult to understand the sport at first. Those, however, who have introduced themselves to the sport, taken some time to learn a little bit about it, John, have really come to love the sport. I think épée, the weapon that we're watching today, is the easiest weapon to understand, and it really is the most exciting. It can just be like a boxing match. Those guys are moving up and down fast on the strip. They're taking each other's blades. There's parries, there's thrusts, there's lunge. They're getting in dramatic situations. You even see them sometimes bump into each other. It's very physical, and it's fast. It has a lot of glitz to it. So I think that it definitely has an appeal, and we would encourage people to come down here to the Gosman Sports Center to join John and myself. If you happen to see either one of us, we'd be more than happy to take some time to explain the sport to you. If you need directions to the Brandeis University and the Gosman Center here in Waltham, Massachusetts, please dial 617-736-2000. Once again, that is 617-736-2000, and the championship will be going on until Tuesday afternoon, so we hope that some of you will take advantage of this great event and join us here.
You mentioned about some matches, anything can go, okay? When these fencers come together, you said there's thrusts, there's parries, riposts. During the heat of the moment, have fencers ever exchanged punches or glancing blows before?
Yes, I'm afraid to say that sometimes that does happen. This is really like a fight. This puts a person into the situation like an animal. You know how an animal, if they're boxed, they're either going to fight or they're going to flight, meaning that adrenaline, that rush. Either you're going to sit there and you're going to claw at your opponent, meaning that you're going to fight like a son of a gun, or you're going to try to get away from them because you're scared as heck of them. So in these type of passionate situations, in this fighting sort of situation, John, there are some times where things become so heated that someone might hit their opponent too hard, or might even use their unarmed hand to swat at someone. It doesn't happen that often, but you do see a lot of passion. You do see a lot of emotion.
And you're going to be seeing that momentarily. You're watching the men's épée final competition. Right now we're in the quarterfinals, leading into the semifinals. You're watching it on ABT, and we'll be right back.
People in the stands, please.
Okay, we're getting ready now as we're down to the final 8, Terrence. Harald Bauder from Germany and Wayne State
His opponent
is being introduced.
Yes, he's one of the foreign fencers that Wayne State is another one of the schools that is lucky in getting a lot of these fencers from Europe who have a tremendous amount of experience.
University of North Carolina.
from the
He's a senior majoring in political science.
George Mason on the microphone for the NCAA Commission. He's the one making the announcements at the moment. He's describing where these fencers are from. David Rosenberg from the University of North Carolina.
The Bauder Rosenberg bout will be fenced on strip number 1 with Ritter as referee.
So at this point, we're down to the final 8 in the competition of the individual men's épée, folks. And the finalists are being announced by George Mason with the NCAA Commission.
From Rochester, New York.
Gregor walking up to the strip. He is from University of Rochester. We saw him earlier in the day winning a nice bout.
Penn State.
Penn State.
Gregor.
This is his first final at the NCAA Championships.
His opponent in the final is his teammate, Benjamin Millett.
Benjamin Millett is also from Penn State. These two fencers, John, ironically enough, the two Penn State fencers will have to face each other, so one of them will be out.
Yeah, les war civil.
Yeah, oui, c'est bon. So one of these Penn State fencers will be out, and I'm sure the rest of the finalists will be happy to see at least one Penn Stater eliminated.
For Penn State Open, Benjamin Millett. Seated third in the finals is Harald Winkmann.
Harald Winkmann from Princeton is walking up to the strip to join the rest of the finalists.
He attends Princeton University, where he's coached by...
He's also from Germany.
He does,
Now, John,
The sport seems to be dominated by Germans, Soviets, and Hungarians.
well, Europe, this fencing is certainly definitely a European sport, and as we're seeing in this final and some of the other finals, a lot of these fencers either come from Europe, spend some time training in Europe, or are coached by a European coach.
His opponent is Christopher Klaus.
Oh, isn't this horrible, John? What we have going on right here, Christopher Klaus, also from Princeton, will have to fence his teammate. So the two teammates from Penn State, Gregor and Ben Millett, and Mr. Lichten and Mr. Klaus, both from Princeton, will have to fence each other. So one Penn State fencer will be out and one Princeton fencer will be out. But on the bright side, there will be one Princeton fencer and one Penn State fencer in the top 4.
Really, they put the two Tigers and the two Nittany Lions against each other.
Well, they don't have a lot of choice. What happens is, based upon the results of the rest of the day, that's how these matchings are made. It's a little complicated to explain, but it looks a lot like a table tournament in that there is a big direct elimination table that these guys, a tree that these guys come off of.
He graduated in 1996, where he...
David Ensign, we saw his match from Yale.
David Ensign is a junior at Yale University. Really nice fencer, John. Very calm. You're going to see a lot of smart fencing from this fencer. Some of these other fencers a little bit more physical. Hope to dominate their opponent by pure aggression. David Ensign is a smart fencer. We'll look forward to seeing how he handles some of his opponents.
Yeah, and he's going to be facing from St. John's, Tremond French. So the Redmen checking in here.
That's right. So we have one fencer from Wayne State, one from the University of North Carolina, 2 from Penn State, 2 from Princeton, 1 from Yale University, and 1 from St. John's University. Here are your 8 finalists.
Yep. And while we have the opportunity, we have Brian Kobel here back from the card table. And Brandeis University did very well in their recent spring trip in baseball.
Yes, they did. The most successful trips in recent memory. Judges finished 7-2 overall and ended up winning or sharing the UAA title along with Emory University.
Who were the key players for Brandeis?
Junior third baseman from Dedham, Mass, Steve Grenham had an outstanding week and will probably almost certainly be a first-team All-UAA selection. He ended up hitting a .419 on the trip with 7 extra base hits, and many of those came in early game situations when the judges really needed runs.
What about pitching?
Brian Pichon, Nelson Figueroa, and John Janiski all threw in big performances for the judges down south. All came up with wins and with long inning stints.
Great. Now, Brian, what does the season hold, the '94 season hold for Brandeis judges in baseball?
Well, it holds being back here in the field house for the next week and a half anyway, because they're going to be because the field, as you can see, is still under snow, and pretty much all of Massachusetts and New England is in the same condition. Brandeis goes to UMass Dartmouth on Saturday. That's March 26th, and the field down at UMass Dartmouth is supposedly clear, so they should be all set and ready to go down there. But unfortunately, they have to be back here inside the field house for a week before they go back outside.
How's their schedule look?
Real strong. You know, Brandeis prides itself on having one of the stronger Division III schedules, you know, in this region. And they're once again hosting perennial Division III powerhouses, University of Southern Maine, UMass Dartmouth, and Eastern Connecticut once again this year.
Great. So congratulations to the judges, ranked number 16 in Division III nationally. They were 7-2 this spring, the UAA co-champs with Emory.
That's right, and they're. I understand anyway that ABT and Waltham Cable is going to be covering a couple of their games. At least one that I'm thinking about is April 12th against UMass Dartmouth here, and I believe that's on a Monday.
Absolutely, absolutely. We did it last year, and once again, special thanks to Phil McGrady back at Cable 8 and Jack Malloy. It should be an interesting season. Brandeis perennially is one of the stronger baseball powers, and they do pride themselves, as you said, on a strong schedule, and they don't fill it with patsies.
No, this would, if the judges make the tournament again this year, and the expectation is that they will, it'll be their third consecutive trip in Coach Pete Barney's tenure here at Brandeis. They've made the NCAA New England regionals 6 times. So you know, at an institution like this, that's no mean accomplishment.
So, Brian Kobel, thank you very much for stopping by. Good luck to the Brandeis Judges baseball team. He has to head back to the bridge now. I think Captain Kirk is calling you, Brian.
That's right. We're traveling at warp speed back at the table, so we better make sure that the controls are under control. Thanks, Ron.
Thank you very much, Brian. So we're getting ready now. We're down to the final 8 fencers here, Terrence. We're in our strip number 1, just to our right. Who are we going to have facing off against each other?
Right here on the first strip, we're going to see the 2 Penn State fencers, Gregor and Ben Millett, fighting it out. These guys are teammates. They fence all the time. I'm sure they're not all that happy to have to fence each other, but one of them will make it to the top 4, so that's the bright side, and the bottom side is, John, one of them will be eliminated.
Is this going to be like a Hollywood stunt fight where no punches are landed?
Well, I don't think so. I think these guys are going to go at it pretty hard, and they're going to be looking to defeat one another.
So we're getting ready. Coming up very shortly, Terrence is going to be doing a nice épée demonstration. If you caught the saber demonstration he did with Mike Mayer, it was delightful, so you want to stick around for that. We're underway here. Who's the director?
Director is John Moss. We spoke earlier with John Moss. John Moss is a coach at the University of New Hampshire, is also a key player in building fencing here in the New England area. There are not only Division I schools, folks, but there are a lot of other programs in this area, clubs that have begun fencing programs, and John has done a great job in accomplishing that.
So they've uncaged the 2 Nittany Lions. On your left is Gregor from Penn State, and on your right is Ben Millett, also from Penn State. So Gregor on the left, Millett on the right. We're underway, 1-0 Gregor.
And folks, let's just bring you up to date about how this equipment, how this stuff actually works. When Gregor, who is on your left and who's from Penn State, makes a touch, meaning when he hits Ben Millett, you will see a red light go off. When Ben hits Gregor and Ben is to your right, the green light will go off. If they both hit each other at roughly the same time, you'll see 2 lights on. If there are 2 lights on, they both get a touchdown.
So they're underway here. It's a 1-0 bout, and we're going to be momentarily switching over to another bout that's going on isochronously with this one, where David Rosenberg from North Carolina is dueling with Harald Bauder from Wayne State.
Yes, this is going to be a pretty good bout right over here. The Wayne State fencer has a lot of experience. He fenced in Germany. He's trained in Germany. The young fencer from the University of North Carolina is going to have a lot to deal with, but we'll see how he manages this experienced fencer.
The director is Ritter.
Ed Ritter. Ed Ritter is actually in charge of the ECAC here on the East Coast. He does all the assigning for all of the tournaments in the East Coast region.
Right now, Bauder, it seems in his matches, he's been backed up. Right there, a double touch.
Double touch, both fencers scoring on that action. Mr. Bauder does not look all that aggressive here in the early going. Perhaps he's a little bit too confident against his inexperienced opponent.
On the left is Bauder, on the right, Rosenberg. He's a Tar Heel from North Carolina, who were defeated, I guess, by Boston College in the NCAA basketball tournament. Bauder being backed up. And once again, double touch.
Double touch there. Mr. Bauder got all the way back towards the end of the strip. He was real lucky to put a light on that action, John. He managed to get a scoring touch out of that situation, but Rosenberg really had him backed into that end of that strip. Remember, if either fencer goes off with both feet past that end line, past where you see that hatch pattern, where Mr. Bauder is in right now, that fencer receives this touch. Oh, nice touch from Mr. Rosenberg, John.
Tell me about the Wayne State fencing program. First of all, how did somebody like a Harald Bauder wind up at Wayne State? And when you say fencing powerhouses, I wouldn't think of Wayne State. How did they get into this tournament?
Wayne State has a long tradition of a strong fencing program. One of their coaches was an Olympic fencer at one time. They have had a lot of fencers from Europe. They've had a lot of coaches from Europe. And because of that European connection, they've been real good at recruiting fencers with a lot of international experience. There's Mr. Bauder putting that red light on, scoring a touch against Mr. Rosenberg. So this looks like a pretty good match. Mr. Rosenberg is doing a good job of staying in, being real aggressive. He's got Mr. Bauder right back there at the end. Oh, he's almost off. Oh, gosh, he was lucky to get away from that one. Mr. Bauder barely gets that touch. Barely gets that touch, John. Manages to put the red light on right there at the end of the strip.
Checking my eyes, I think that's Harald Winkmann from Princeton across the way. We're talking at strip 7, as Winkmann is taking on Christopher Klaus from Princeton. And then you have Ensign from Yale, who is battling with Tremond French from St. John's. That bout, if we get it, that's right, Pete, way across the way. So across the way we have Klaus and Winkmann. Winkmann is on your right. That's well across the way. I believe, and if my eyes don't fail me, it's 2-1. And that one in favor of Christopher Klaus from Princeton. And then on the right is Harald Winkmann. Now to the left of that bout, if we could just pan over, Pete, you have Ensign. Ensign from Yale, David Ensign on the right, taking on Tremond French from St. John's on the left. So those are the final bouts going on. 8 fencers left, 4 matches.
What's going to happen now are there are 8 fencers left. There will be 4 winners, and these 4 winners will fence to get into the gold medal match. The losers in the 4 will fence off for the bronze, and the winner will fence for the gold medal.
And Pete, panning back down to strip number 1, where Clowder is facing off against Rosenberg. They've both now taken their masks off, and they had a discussion with the director. See if we can catch a score. They don't have the portable scoreboard working on this particular strip.
So each of the fencers will, during the course of the action of the bout, they'll adjust their mask, they'll adjust their weapon. They want to make sure that they feel comfortable. Once again, we're seeing Mr. Rosenberg here, John. Oh, really being aggressive. Really just taking it to Mr. Bauder. So far, Mr. Bauder, who's on our left, who is from Wayne State, fenced in Germany, he's been spending a lot of time at the end of that strip. I don't think he's not beginning to feel uncomfortable down there. Oh.
Is fatigue a factor at this portion of the tournament? Even fencing all day, you fence, you wait, you fence, you wait. Mentally, it plays on your psyche, but physically as well, you start to wind down.
You definitely start to wind down, and probably what's going through Mr. Bauder's mind in this match is he is confident that he's stronger, and he just doesn't want to have to work that hard. He's been fencing hard all day. He's hoping that this would have been an easier match, and he's getting into trouble as a result. He's having to work much harder than he would have liked.
Staying power is definitely an intangible in fencing, then.
Yes, that's definitely correct. Mr. Rosenberg scoring a nice touch, putting the green light on. You can see the director is now checking the weapon of Mr. Bauder. Mr. Bauder believed that he scored the hit. He did not score the hit. His weapon is indeed working. That's what the director was testing, John, testing to see if the weapon was okay. The director determined the weapon is okay, and the touch stands, and we now continue the bout.
Meanwhile, in the 2 Litany Not Lions matching up, Ben Millett is trailing 9-7 to Gregor, I believe. Across the way, checking it, it's a 6-3 advantage as Winkmann is trailing Christopher Klaus from Princeton. And then on our far match, we have Ensign and Trevor French. If I can check it out, it looks as though Ensign is walking away with that one, Terrence, 10-4. That's in the far left-hand corner.
Yeah, Ensign at this is using his experience, is using his nice, calm, strategic style, John, and to his fullest advantage, particularly because his opponents are tired, and they just want to get the match over with as quickly as possible. And there's Mr. Ensign scoring another nice touch, really just working his opponent, being real patient, taking his time, setting it up, scoring a very nice action. Right now, on the strip, there looks like there's a 1-minute break. Ron Miller, the coach, is talking to Mr. Rosenberg. He's massaging his leg. Once again, as John reminded us, this is about staying power, and Mr. Rosenberg is tired at this point. He's very tired, so you can see his coach, just like a boxing coach, John, would splash the face of their boxer, massage the shoulders, make sure that his boxer was relaxed. That's exactly what Mr. Miller is doing there with his fencer.
Yeah, the massaging right now, cramping would be the death knell of any fencer. So that's what they're trying to prevent the cramping.
Right, trying to prevent cramp at this point. Let me just take a brief minute to explain once again that these are 15-touch bouts. As you're watching the bouts, you'll see that there are a couple of different lines on the strip. The center line marks the absolute middle of the strip. The two other lines are the on-guard lines. This is where the fencers start each of the match. And then this half pattern towards the end of the strip on either side is the